Welcome to Small Arms Solutions. Many of you who follow my channel have seen that I have spoken very highly of the Caracal rifles. Now holding here is my personal Caracal 814A2 external piston rifle. I had spent several days, in fact on 2 or 3 different occasions, at the Caracal plant in the UAE. The Caracal plant in the UAE is very unique in that part of the world, and the fact that there are very few weapons manufacturers in that area of the world. With the exception of Israel, that's pretty much it for as far as weapons manufacturers in the Middle East. There's a lot of reasons for that. The Middle East is not what you would refer to as a manufacturing mecca. They do not have a lot of skilled labor over there. There's not a lot of manufacturing companies over there. You don't have a lot of machine shops and job houses and places that are required to do that. Now, the UAE wanted to have their own weapons manufacturing capability, which is really a good idea because when you're working with the West, especially the United States, you're very much on the whim of the State Department, whether you're in their good graces at that particular time when they will allow you to have the license to sell or to do training and whatnot. It's very, very difficult to work with the U.S. government in that area and part of the world because, again, it's always constantly changing for as far as the relations. So they also figured that it would be very good for them and a good opportunity for them to have a manufacturing facility there where they could allow their own Arab brothers the ability to purchase manufactured weapons in that region. And well, it makes sense. You don't have to deal with the U.S. ITAR or any other country's whims for licensing. If you need to get parts, you can have them there the next day. It's a far better way to do business for them over in the Middle East. So what they did was they brought 2 gentlemen over from the U.S. Who designed these rifles. You have the first gentleman was Robert Hurt. He worked for H&K on the HK416 program. After that program, he went over to work for Sig Sauer, Sig Arms in the United States, where he was teamed up with a gentleman named Chris Royce. And this gentleman was also a very, very highly respected member of the firearms community and probably one of the most brilliant engineers that there were. And Sig had asked those gentlemen to make a rifle that they felt was better than the HK416. Now, Robert Hurt had a lot of ideas that he thought would improve upon the HK416, as well as Chris Royce. They went ahead and they designed the Sig 516. The Sig 516 would go on to be a very, very successful rifle. And then the 2 of them together, while at SIG, they also developed the MPX, the MCX, the SIG M400, and many other weapons platforms that SIG has. The 2 of them later were hired by the firm Caracal in the UAE, where there was a lot of money in there, and they were building up a new facility. And not only did they want them to build a rifle that was better than the HK416 and the SIG 516, they also wanted them to build a manufacturing facility that would be totally self-contained, which would have every single operation of the rifle that was there, everything from machining, heat treating, chrome plating. Every particular process you could imagine has to be on site. There's no job shop, so they had to do that as well. Now, although their primary interest was the external piston system for use in the desert, they did something very, very smart. They knew that they were going to have customers who did want to go with it's referred to as the direct gas, which I like to refer to as internal piston, because instead of the piston being in front behind the barrel, it's in the bolt carrier where it's made up between the back of the bolt and back of the bolt carrier. So the smart idea was to make both. So we had the CAR814A2, which is the external piston rifle. And now we have what's referred to as the CAR814 direct gas system. Now, the model that you see here is very similar to what was manufactured in the UAE. Now, the rifles that you're seeing here are the USA-made ones. Caracal wanted to get into the U.S. market, so they developed a company over here, Caracal USA, who manufactures the rifles in the U.S. Their rifles are very, very similar. The model you see here is nearly identical to that was made in the UAE. There's 2 major differences. One was the barrel. The barrel on all the barrels that were manufactured in UAE were cold hammer forged. These are not. These are basically button cut QPQ treated. The designer, Chris Royce, I had a long conversation with him about the 2 processes, whether he felt there was any significant difference in the longevity, the quality of the barrels between the cold hammer forged chrome plated versus the chrome vanadium steel with the button cut rifling and the QPQ. And he felt that from his testing that there was no significance in quality of one over the other. And it's definitely more cost efficient to go with the QPQ type finish than it is the cold hammer forged chrome plating. But quite frankly, I haven't got enough trigger time on QPQ barrels to talk about how they last under longevity. The only thing that I've ever seen is a button cut barrel tends to have a little bit better accuracy with a scope on it for precision than the cold hammer forged. Cold hammer forged, you have don't have nearly as sharp of a leading edge. You can't really duplicate that sharp leading edge in a cold hammer forged machine that you can on a standard button cut system. The other difference was the handguard. Now, all the handguards that were pretty much seen in the UAE on those rifles were all quad 1913 rail handguards that were manufactured by Caracal. The rifles that were here, the CAR814s, utilized the Mo handguard with the M-lock rails on the front, and also the CTR stock. Now, the CTR stock was used on many of the guns in Caracal as well in the UAE. Now, there was again a major issue with importing parts from the U.S. into the UAE. Was anytime you would have any kind of an ITAR controlled part, you had to provide end user certificates and all that kind of stuff, and you had to control where the parts went from the U.S. end of it, which is why you were seeing UAE got totally away from any American-made parts. They're making all the parts there, so they don't have to answer to any country as to who their customers are or what they're doing. So those are the two major differences between the UAE guns and the guns made here in the U.S. Now, looking at this rifle, there are some major differences between them. The Caracal 816 and 814 is nearly identical with all the components with the receivers. Their main differences are the buffer, obviously. The buffer is different between an external piston versus an internal. Now, the internal piston here utilizes an H2 buffer, which is very unusual, because generally an H2 buffer is only used when you have a heavier barrel. However, the way that this was designed, it was designed with the gas port and this buffer in mind to give a softer recoil. Now, that's different from just dropping in, the H2 buffer. They had to modify the gas port in this as well, so it would work properly and have the proper timing. So the bolt carrier itself, you have a standard mil-spec bolt carrier group versus the one for the external piston on the Caracal 816. Of course, the front sight base, you have to put an operating rod in the 816, where here you have a standard M16 or M4 type front sight base. And of course, the operating system, you're looking at a gas tube versus an external piston. That is the major differences. Now, another thing about the Caracal 816A4 was it had to pass the same test, NATO trial test, that the 816 had to. So the guns that you see here versus the one that I had in my hands earlier, both of these guns were submitted to the NATO testing and both met and exceeded all NATO standards testing. So speaking of the 816A2, as then the 814A2, manufactured here in the United States. All parts that you see here, with the exception of the pistol grip, are manufactured in the United States. But like typical AR-15s of mil-spec, you have 775 T6 aircraft-grade upper and lower receivers. You can notice that we have a little bit of a different sculpturing here versus the standard M16 for as far as the way the magazine release fence is. So it's a little bit different for as far as the forgings that are used. Standard mil-spec receiver extension. You have, this particular one came with a backup sight, which was a Troy-type backup sight. Now, the barrel we have here, again, it's chromoly vanadium steel, and it has a 1 turn and 7-inch twist, right-hand twist. It will utilize, and it'll take any kind of ammunition that's available from 55 grain up to 70 to 80 grain projectiles. Now, one of the things about the 1 and 7-inch twist is you don't necessarily want to use those anything under 55. The more you get under 55, the thinner jacket you get, and the violent twisting, the rapid twist of the 1 and 7 can have the bullet come apart either in the barrel, or as soon as it comes out of the barrel, the bullets can just come apart. So really, it's a good idea with the 1 and 7 to stick around the 55, 50 grain bullet weights. And the mag pull parts on here, just like we discussed earlier, we have the Mo handguard M-lock, and we have the CTR stock. Now, the Caracal pistol grip made in the UAE has a removable base as well. Overall weight of this one is 6.8 pounds with a 16-inch barrel, and this does have a proper F-mark front sight base. Overall length, 32.5 inches with a stock closed. With a stock extended, you're looking at 35.5. Now, the trigger on this one is an enhanced trigger, but it is a mil-spec. This particular one broke right at 8 pounds with my military spec trigger weights. And the rifle came with a aluminum magazine manufactured for Caracal. So test firing this rifle, we used a couple different kinds of ammunition. We also used the Gecko 223 full metal jacket as well as the Black Hills 55 grain full metal jacket. And my best group with this one was with the Black Hills full metal jacket ammunition with a group of 2.18 inches at 100 yards. And that's utilizing this particular razor scope manufactured by Vortex. This is a red dot type scope, holographic type. I've been using this quite a bit recently on several reviews, and I can't say anything bad about it at all. This is a very well-built scope. It's definitely excellent for the money. You do have co-witness with the iron sights as well. Now the bolt on this rifle is the Carpenter 158 steel, which is mil spec. Very tight quality control is held by Caracal USA. I know the guy who does it, so I definitely have a lot of faith in what he's doing. Now there's one feature on here that really makes this rifle stand out from any DI type rifle that's out there. As I said, these things met and exceeded military specification testing. Testing protocol. One of the things that really made this rifle special is inside the barrel, you have what's referred to as a Extractor Guard, which is basically a button which is attached to the inside of the barrel extension, which sits right over the extractor. So when the bolt locks in position, this sits right above the extractor. So if this rifle was to have an overpressure condition, it would prevent the extractor from blowing out. It would keep it flat against the rifle, which would prevent the rifle from blowing up. Is a big safety. It's used specifically in the over the beach conditions for safety. Now this is standard on all Caracal rifles. It is standard on the HK416 G36. SIG also uses it on their military rifles as well. These are the only companies that do this. This is a little bit expensive to do. It's an additional process, but it's well worth the safety that it allows. Caracal does offer also another model in the CAR814 line, which is referred to as the Patrol Carbine. The Patrol Carbine has basically a lot of the same features as a standard Mo carbine, as you see right here, but it has an extended handguard. Now, this is offered in several different barrel lengths. You have 11.5, you have 14.5, 16 inches barrel length. This also utilizes the Mo stock. However, the handguard is what's different. What we have here is a 12-inch free-floating stock. This is manufactured by Caracal USA. This is also M-LOK, and as you can see from here also, we have some the new Manta M-LOK rail covers on here. They're 2-slot panels, rubber. It's the exact same material that's manufactured out of their standard grip panels, but they fit in the M-LOK, which, again, as you guys know, I'm a big fan of the Manta rail panels, and these are just as good. Now, also the handguard, as we said, is free-floated. We have a carbine-length gas system, and we have a key-locked anti-tilt mechanism on here as well. So this handguard will not come out of alignment. This also comes with a standard aluminum 3-round magazine. Now, the charging handle utilizes the Strike Industries latchless charging handle. You have a little indentation grooves in here, so you don't have an actual latch that's going to break off of it. You have an ambidextrous safety, and on the other side here, you'll see we have a Strike Industries hand bolt catch. And as we spoke to earlier about you have a different sculpture to the lower receiver, we can see that right here. Some additions that we have on here is we have a QD socket on the back of the receiver extension end plate. Now the trigger on this one is very different from the standard one. The trigger is the EDT sharpshooter trigger. Now this particular trigger broke at 4.75 pounds with my military free weight trigger weight system. And very clean break, very, very nice trigger, and the shooting, as you'll see coming up, is definitely enhanced the accuracy of the rifle. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go to the range and we're going to see how the Mo CAR814A2 can shoot. The best group was 2.18 inches with the Black Hills 55 grain full metal jacket. Now, that was utilized with this particular optic, which was not magnified. That ammunition was a good military grade, but again, it's Black Hills. Black Hills is the best ammunition in the industry. I think that's the industry standard for excellence in ammunition. Now, could this rifle shoot better? Perhaps with a magnified optic. And perhaps an OTM or a match grade bullet, we could probably do even better than that. But for as far as accuracy with a iron sight type with a non-magnified optic, we were very, very, very pleased with that. Now we're going to take the CAR814A2 Patrol Carbine to the range, and we're going to see how this one shoots. This rifle shot very, very well. The optic that we used was the Bravo 3-24 magnified optic. The best group was with Black Hills ammunition, 55 grain full metal jacket at 1.06 inches. Really close to sub-MOA. For a rifle like this, with this type of a trigger, and not even match-grade ammunition, you really could not ask for more. I think the trigger made a big difference because if you look at the barrel on the Patrol versus the Carbine, it's the exact same barrel. The difference is one has a free-floating handguard, one doesn't. One has a match-grade trigger, one doesn't. So the accuracy was exceptional with this rifle. There's one more model that we're going to talk about. I don't have access to one at the moment. There's an additional rifle that's referred to as the CAR814A2 Versus. What this is a competition rifle. It was designed for that specific purpose. Now the major differences are, on this one you have the minimalist 8-ounce buttstock, which is a lightweight, straight pullback. Doesn't require a latch. It's a very interesting system. I do have to say that I've got a rifle right here with that on it. I can't say I'm too particularly fond of it. I do particularly like the fact when you can lock a stock into place. And this one here, you can pull it without, if it was to snag on something, if you had it set in a certain position, it will pull out. So the minimalist stock is not something that I'm particularly fond of. I'm sure those in competition who are. You have an XMR extended magazine release. Again, for competition, this enables you to release your magazine that much quicker. It's a much larger button. You have a proprietary 6-ounce free float handguard M-lock as well, which is extremely lightweight to make that rifle that much lighter. And the barrel is also very unique. It is a Proof Industries 18-inch barrel with a 223 Wilde chamber, and it is also a carbine length gas system. You have a 2-port self-timing muzzle brake. You have a Lancer AWM magazine of smoke color instead of the standard aluminum. The weight is a light 6.2 pounds with an overall length of 34.7 with the stock closed and 38 with the stock extended. And because of the proof barrier, you're looking at a much more expensive price, around $1,799. Now we have several pictures to show you the differences between these different carbines. Now, for as far as the Patrol rifle, the CAR814A2 Patrol is a 5.56 rifle. And you have the 11.5, you have the 14.5, and the 16-inch barrel. The Patrol, on the other hand, you have an 11.5-inch barrel, 14.5, as well as a 16. Patrol also comes in various calibers, such as 300 Blackout as well. You do have pistol variations of that as well. Now, the pistols have a 7.5-inch barrel with a pistol-length gas system. Now, for as far as the Versus is concerned, it's only offered in the 223 Wilde this time with the 18-inch barrel-length proof barrel. Now, overall, as I said, I've been very, very vocal about how much I think and how highly I think of the Caracal rifles. Nothing they've ever produced has been disappointing. I have seen the guns working in the UAE on several occasions, the ones I've had here. Now, the Mo I've had well over, I'd say close to 1,500 rounds through it, mostly the Black Hills 55 grain full metal jacket, and not a single malfunction. The Patrol carbine, I probably had around 200-300 rounds through it. It was mostly just for accuracy that I shot that. Now, the MSRP for the CAR814A2 Mo is $699. Now, I do believe these rifles are going to be discontinued in favor for the Patrol. So I don't know how long these are going to be available, but at that price, this is worth every single penny. MSRP for the Caracal 814A2 Patrol series is $1,399. The functional parts on the CAR814A2 series are basically the same barrels, bolt carriers for the most part. They're the same. The only differences you have are that would be the handguards, whether it be the stock or whatnot. So the reliability and everything I would expect from one, I would expect from them all. They've all performed well. I did fire some different ammunition as well just to check compatibility. I did have some Lake City M855 ball. I had some Black Hill 77 grain OTM Gecko 223. So we did have several. I've said it before. I'll say it again. I do not use Wolf 223 ammunition. Will these rifles work with Wolf 223? I have no idea. These are designed for 5.56 millimeter NATO ammunition, just like all the Colt rifles. Now, a lot of people out there think that a rifle is garbage if it doesn't shoot reliably the Wolf ammunition. Now, one thing you have to understand, is something I've said before, and I always want to reiterate it, is these rifles are designed for NATO ammunition that has a specific port pressure in the chamber and a specific gas port pressure. If the ammunition does not meet those SAMI specs or military NATO specs, the gun won't work. Now, what a lot of manufacturers will do is they will open the gas ports up. So with standard military ammunition, it's overgassed. That way, when you have the underpowered Wolf ammunition, it will work with that ammunition as well. So standard ammunition, now you're going to be overgassed to use that ammunition. So for as far as I'm concerned, I prefer to have my rifles timed for NATO spec ammunition. I don't use Wolf ammunition in 223. Now, I use a lot of wolf ammunition in 7.62 by 39 and 5.45, absolutely. But I don't have wolf ammunition here to test with because, quite frankly, I'm not concerned with it. These particular rifles by Caracal are designed to NATO specifications. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, please click like, please subscribe, and even better, share. Thank you.